Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the continuation of It Takes One to Know One. We are now on book week. You all come dressed as characters, Miss Wilkes, our teacher, said, from all the famous stories and poems that you've read. And on Monday in assembly, everyone will look and try to guess the character and recognise the book. I went as a Pied Piper, with a coat of gold and red, and breeches of bright yellow, and a cap upon my head. It was made of thick crepe paper, with cardboard belt in brown. But as I walked to school that day, the rain came falling down. The paper went all soggy, and all the yellow dye trickled down my forehead, and I began to cry. At school I looked a sorry sight, all brown and yellow and sad. But Miss Wilkes, my teacher, dried my eyes and said, "It's not that bad." The assembly was fantastic. Everyone was there. Pinocchio and Captain Hook, Noddy and Paddington Bear, Cinderella and Peter Pan. There was Alice and Mr. Toad. Then Miss Wilkes pointed straight at me. "Oh, and here is the yellow brick road." Dear me. Classroom creatures. Mrs. Price isn't nice. Her tiger eyes, they burn like ice. Mr. Ryan, hard as iron, stalks a classroom like a lion. Mrs. Drew, little shrew, very nervous, very new. Mr. Ash, walrus tash, brings us all out in a rash. Dr. G can barely see. A little furry mole is he. Mrs. Page is in a rage, like an elephant in a cage. Mr. Brass, silly ass, plays the fool in every class. Albert Baker, school caretaker, dangerous as an alligator. But Mrs. Meacher, our head teacher, is a most delightful creature. Christmas presents for Miss. Chocolates in a fancy box for the teacher who is tops. A tea towel and oven glove from Gemma Thompson with my love. A bottle stands in thick brown paper. All the best from Darren Baker. Perfume soap from Lee and Chris. You're our favourite teacher, miss. Flowers in a coloured pot. Happy Christmas, Helen Bott. A china dog with painted face for the teacher who is ace. And from the nuisance of the class, the nativity encased in glass. I know this year I've been a pain. I'm sorry, miss, with love from Wayne. And though she's taught for many years, the teacher's eyes still fill with tears. For children know the ones who care, and that is why those gifts are there. That's kind of sweet. I like that. Class discussion. In the class discussion, Jane, you hardly said a word. We all aired our opinions, but from you we rarely heard. You sat and stared in silence, surrounded by the chatter. Now tell me, Jane, and please be plain, is there anything the matter? Jane looked up, and then she spoke. Her voice was clear and low. There are many people in this world who are rather quiet, you know. Parents' evening. So, you are Matthew's mother, then you must be his dad. I'm so very pleased to meet you. I am extremely glad. He's such a gifted pupil, and such a little dear. There's been a vast improvement in all his work this year. His writing is exceptional, so beautifully neat. His spelling quite incredible, his poetry a treat. His number work is flawless, and his painting so inspired. He's interested and lively, and he's never even tired. He's amazingly athletic and excels in every sport. Your Matty is the brightest child that I have ever taught. I should say he's gifted. He comes top in every test. In fact, in every single subject, your Matthew is the best. I must say, Mr. and Mrs. Flynn, you're fortunate to have a child just like him. Pardon? Oh, you're not Matthew Flynn's father? Then you can't be his mum. You say I've got the names mixed up. Oh dear, what have I done? Well, I'm very, very sorry. So you're Charles Matthew Brown. Well, before I tell you about your son, you had better both sit down. Mr. Lee teaches poetry. Our English teacher, Mr. Lee, is very keen on poetry, and every morning he will say, "We're going to write a poem today, but please don't waste a lot of time. I'm trying to make your poetry rhyme." In writing, there is nothing worse than striving desperately in verse to fit the words into the line just to get a silly rhyme. So remember in your poem today, it doesn't have to rhyme, you know? That's true. A poem does not have to rhyme. It just has to be a selection of beautiful words that mean something. Although the stigma around poetry rhyming goes back centuries, I guess. Poetry lesson. I like your poem, Mandy, but there are parts which don't sound right. You say that stars like diamond chips illuminate the night, and that the cold and distant moon gives off an eerie light. I think that there are better words to use. I like your poem, Mandy, but be careful with the rhymes. You say that from the lonely church came strange and distant chimes, reminding you of far-off days and of much happier times. I think that there are better words to use. I like your poem, Mandy, but the images aren't too good. Instead of spooky forest glade, insert a ghostly wood. And avoid those dreadful gory bits, especially the blood. I think that there are better words to use. And tell me, said the teacher, have you anything to say? And Mandy said, I'd like to ask, whose poem is it, anyway? Yep, it's her poem. I'm pretty sure if it's her poem, she can make it as she pleases. Bible class. Reverend Bright, our vicar, came in our class today. He started with a little talk, and then we closed our eyes to pray. He talked about the Bible and the prophet Abraham, how God created everything and how the world began. Then he asked all some questions about the prophets and the kings, David and Goliath, and lots of other things. In a very famous garden grew an apple on a tree, and we ate the forbidden fruit, and a voice said, "Wasn't me." My teacher. I'm glad that I'm a pupil of Mrs. Edelston, for every day is wonderful. Ooh, we do have lots of fun. There's wooden bricks and building blocks, and sand piled on a tray, a Wendy house and crates of toys to play with all the day. In the morning, when I wave goodbye to Mummy at the gates, I see Mrs. Edelston smiling as she waits. Then I run across the playground through a sea of smiling faces and charge into my indoor shoes. I can do up all my laces. I hang my outdoor coat up on a row of little hooks and rush to the reading corner where there's lots of picture books. Then Mrs. Edelston starts reading about the mermaid and the whale, about giants, elves and monsters, or our favourite fairy tale. And if the story frightens me, I climb up on her knee, and she tells me not to worry, because it all ends happily. And I'm sad and very sorry, for I must leave Mrs. Edelston, for now I am a big boy, and I must be moving on. And though I've shed so many tears, enough to fill a pool, next year I join the sixth form and the comprehensive school. Once upon a time. Once upon a time, children long, long ago, there lived a big, ugly monster, miss. No, David, not a big, ugly monster. A beautiful princess called Imelda. She had eyes as bright and as green as sparkling emeralds. She had hair which fell down her back like a golden waterfall. Her skin was as white as a ghost, miss. No, not a ghost, David. As white as the snow which covered the fields. Her lips were as red as blood, miss. No, not blood, David. As red as cherries. But Princess Imelda was lonely. How long as she waited, how she'd longed for someone to be with, whom to play with her. As the season passed, she stared out from the high window of her castle. Then one day, something happened. Did she fall out, miss? No, she didn't fall out, David. She saw in the distance a great cloud of smoke. A fire-breathing dragon came to eat her up. David, will you listen? It wasn't a dragon. It was a prince on a great white horse as he rode over the little bridge. Did he fall off? No. Miss, was there a wicked troll under the bridge? David, would you be quiet? There are other children in this class, you know, who might want to say something and ask a question. Now, give somebody else a chance. Yes, Amy. Have you got a question to ask me? Yes, miss. What is it, dear? May I go to the toilet, please? How nice. So I'm going to leave it for there, guys, because I don't want to make the recordings too long, as you know. I want to thank you all for listening, these lovely poems. I hope you enjoyed them, and I shall see you again next time. Many blessings.